What's up, everybody? How y'all doing on this nice warm day? Warm at most places, at least. Today we're gonna be reading the story called "The Moorhouse Murderers." Before we jump in, I just want to say to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that way you never miss another video. Today is day 4 of daily upload. My mistake. I'm actually enjoying this. Let me know if y'all are too. Alright, let's go, baby. On the 6th of October in 1986, a 22-year-old psychology student, Mary Nielsen, knocked on the disveiled bungalow door of 3 Moorhouse Street, Village, Western Australia. Earlier that day, in a spare parts yard, Mary had arranged to meet a man about some cheap car tires. His name was David Burney. Upon entering the home, Mary was held at knife point by David and her lover, Catherine. The couple gagged Mary, bound her limbs, and chained her to the bed. Catherine watched over David as he repeatedly raped Mary. She asked him, "What turns you on the most?" They later moved Mary to Gleneagles National Park to further sexually assault and kill her. Mary was strangled with a nylon cord and stabbed in the heart. David later claimed the stabbing was to speed up decomposition. I ain't even gonna talk. A theory he had read in a book somewhere. The Burneys buried Mary's lifeless corpse in a shallow grave, assuming she would never be discovered. The perfect murder. 2 weeks after slaying Mary, the Burneys noticed a young girl hitchhiking along the Sterling Highway. 15-year-old Susan Candy, and outstanding student and daughter of a top orthopedic surgeon. David and Catherine beckoned her into their car, held her at knife point, and tied her hands together. They returned with Candy to their village house of horrors, and as with Mary, gagged, chained, and raped her. During her abduction, Candy was forced to write letters to her parents, reassuring them of her safety. One letter was posted from Perth, the other from Fremantle, a nearby port. In both letters, Candy had written that she would be home. Catherine, after watching David rape Candy, got into the bed with them and assaulted her. She knew that what David enjoyed was what David enjoyed. After the ordeal, David attempted to strangle Candy with a nylon cord. The couple didn't anticipate her hysterical reaction. They proceeded to force sleeping pills down Candy's throat to pacify her. Once asleep, David returned to the nylon cord to Candy's neck and told Catherine to prove her undying love for him by committing murder. To David's pleasure, the Catherine strangled Candy whilst she was asleep. They buried Candy near the shallow grave of Mary Nielsen in the state forest. When recalling Susanna Candy's murder from prison, Catherine's response was chilling. "I was prepared to follow him to the end of the earth, and do anything to his desires were satisfied." Adding, Candy, was a female. Female is hurt, and Catherine Harrison met David Burney at the tender age of 12, but by 14 the pair were romantically involved. Their relationship was tempestuous, and despite Catherine's father's best efforts, David often led young Catherine astray. During her adolescence, Catherine spent many stints in prison, a welcomed break from David. Meanwhile, David became a paraphilic, obsessed with sex and addicted to pornography. He even went as far as to break into the home of an elderly woman, naked aside from stockings over his head, and attempt his first rape. David married young. In his early 20s, he had one daughter with his wife called Tanya. But the star-crossed lovers always found their way back to each other. And in 1985, Catherine left her husband and 6 children to live with David. She changed name by deed pool to Catherine Burney. As Catherine Burney, she flourished into her disturbing role within their vacuous relationship, overseeing the picking and choosing of their next textbook victim. When she spotted their newest target, she would turn to David and say, "I have the munchies." Sadly, this horrific practice sealed the fate of their next victim, 31-year-old bar manager Nolan Patterson. On November 1st, the Bernies found Nolan standing by her car on the Canning Highway. She had run out of fuel after leaving work at the nearby Lanes Golf Club. Under the guise of a helping couple, they gestured Nolan to their car before absconding with her at knife point. Threatened and bound, they returned Nolan to their dinghy back on Moorhouse Street. There, Nolan was gagged, chained up, and raped. Allegedly, the pair had planned to murder and dispose of Nolan on the night of her abduction, but David had other ideas. Nolan, in an act of self-preservation, tried to please David by going along with his desires. At his request, she called her friends and told them she was safe and staying with people she knew. She even asked them to collect her broken-down vehicle. Her efforts appear to drink real quick. Her efforts appear to appease David, who was growing increasingly emotionally attached. However, she couldn't placate an angry Catherine. Nolan was everything that Catherine wanted to be: beautiful, a legend, and successful. But Nolan didn't satisfy Catherine. In fact, she did the opposite. She hated Nolan and how much David enjoyed her company. After 3 days, in a fit of jealousy, Catherine presented David with an ultimatum. He either killed Nolan or she forget that, please. Catherine's earlier devotion, David swiftly forced an overdose of sleeping pills down Nolan's throat. He strangled her as she slept. The couple took Nolan's corpse, wearing only her underpants, to their growing forest body pile. Catherine took great pleasure in kicking and throwing dirt in Nolan's face as she was interred. Her bloodlust had returned. A mere 4 days later, the couple were ready to terrorize again. Their next victim? A trusting 21-year-old woman named Denise Brown. The Bernies approached Denise as she was waiting for a bus on the Sterling Highway, offering her a ride in the car. After abducting Denise at knife point, the couple continued their pattern of sickening torture back at 3 Moorhouse Street. Denise was bound and raped. The following afternoon, the couple drove Denise into the secluded forest of the Winnow Pine Plantation. As the couple awaited sundown, David continued to rape Denise in the car whilst Catherine watched. After darkness fell, they hauled Denise from the vehicle. David assaulted her once again, thrusting a knife into her neck during the fatal attack. Convinced Denise was dead, they dug a shallow grave and discarded her battered corpse. But to the shock, Denise sat back up. She was still alive. It took David two full force blows to Denise's head with an axe before she died. Undeterred, he covered her body with dirt, and the couple left the scene. Catherine, however, was shaken by Denise's brutal murder, and in a later interview revealed, "I think I must have come to a decision that sooner or later there had to be an end to the..." Okay, I'm getting confused why. Okay, I don't know. Although complicated in the sexual assault, strangling and stabbing, Catherine admitted she couldn't go through with David's growing ruthlessness. She added, "I had a great fear that I would have to look at another killing like that of Denise Brown, the girl he murdered with the axe." Would Catherine's fear contribute to the sequence of events that unfolded with their final victim? On the 10th of November, in 1986, a 17-year-old girl ran up to a man outside a vacuum cleaner shop. She cried, "Help! I've been raped. Please take me inside to call the police." She was barefoot, wearing nothing more than black leggings and a singlet. If a woman comes here and says, "I've had a fight with her and I'm her daughter," don't believe her. I've been raped. The Good Samaritan drove the distraught teenager to the local police station. Their newly appointed constable, Laura Hancock, discovered the girl was Kate Moor, an escaped Bernadette abductee. Only a day earlier, Katie Moore had accepted a lift from the Bernies after a night out with friends in Barrett. Little did she know that this seemingly friendly couple were 4 bodies into a month-long murder spree. The couple drove Kate to just outside her house. As Katie tried to leave the car, she noticed there was no handles on the door to get out. David brandished a butcher's knife from his boot and held it to her throat. They drove on. Back at the Moorhouse property, the Bernies subjected Katie to an hour of mental torture. They made her dance for them to Dire Straits' Romeo and Juliet. Unfortunately, that video is the actual song, so it's copyrighted, so I can't play it. Yeah, just look up that song. When Katie asked if they were going to kill her or rape her, they callously replied, "We'll only rape you if you're good." Not long after midnight, Catherine watched over as David assaulted Katie, taking notes on the ordeal. Afterwards, Katie slept in the Bernie's bed, handcuffed by foot to David. During the night, she convinced the couple to allow her to write goodbye letters to her family. But when she began screaming in a fight of distress, Danny announced the sleeping argument has changed. He moved her to the master bedroom, where the rapes continued. Following the assaults, he offered Katie sleeping pills, which she pretended to swallow and hid under the mattress. In the morning, Katie was forced to ring her mother to assure she was okay. To try and raise the alarm, she told her mother she had been too drunk to come home, knowing they were unaware of her drinking. She hoped they would be furious and come and find her, seeing through her lie of staying with a friend. Sadly, they didn't. When David left for work, Katie's survival instincts kicked in, and she decided she had a 50-50 chance of life or death. Catherine had returned Katie to her room unsecured, having been distracted by a drug dealer knocking on the front door. Katie saw her chance to escape. Breaking the lock off the nearest window, she fled Moorhouse Street, frantically knocking on neighbors' doors. Nobody answered. Katie jumped a garden fence and, after sustaining a dog attack, noticed a vacuum shop over the street. She was finally safe. Once at the police house, she detailed the horrific abuse and abduction. Several police were initially skeptical of her claims. However, Constable Laura Hancock gave Katie her unwavering confidence. The police were already aware of a possible serial killer at large, with women disappearing on a weekly basis. All the victims shared the same significant detail and commonly contacted their loved ones before never being heard from again. Catherine denied meeting Kay. David insisted she had visited for consensual sex. Katie, however, had a wealth of evidence to contract the lovers' conflicting stories, their address and telephone number, David's real name, not the allies he had told her, a detail she had noticed on a prescription bottle, the Rockies VHS they had watched, still in the VCR, and lastly, a drawing she had hidden as proof of her persistence in the house. The lead detective, Kittich, urged David to confess that so that the police could find the bodies before nightfall. To the detective's shocks, David revealed the existence of 4 graves. Katie's smarts and bravery had ended the Birdies' 5-week reign of terror. Yet, although their sadistic binge was over, the couple's sick relationship continued to play out within their confessions and at their court appearance. 2 days later, on the 12th of November, 1986, David John Birdie and Catherine Margaret Birdie faced charges of 4 counts of willful murder at Fremantle Magistrates Court. David Birdie entered the court handcuffed to a police officer wearing a faded pair of overalls with jogging bottoms and socks. Catherine, also handcuffed to an officer, stood barefoot in denim jeans and a brown check shirt. Both were emotionless as the charges were read out. Bail was refused. The couple had no legal representation, no plea. As the court asked Catherine if she wanted to be remained for 8 or 30 days before her next appearance, she looked to David and said, "I'll go when he goes." The following year, on the 10th, the 10th February, the Bernies stood trial at Paris Supreme Court. Their prison van was met with the jeers of angry crowds screaming, "Hang the bastards!" Police route reporters Bill Power vitally remembers the harrowing scenes of their court appearance. Catherine Barney fought against the guarding police officers and refused to allow any of them to touch her. He continued. She screamed and spat words at them until she reached the dock and spotted her beloved David. Bill further recalls Catherine's disturbing public displays of affection, as the charges were abduction, rape, torture, and murder were read out against David. Catherine Birdie bent forward, stretched out her right hand, and gently stroked the ball of David Birdie's thumb behind his back. David pleaded guilty to 4 counts of murder and 1 count of abduction and rape. He received the maximum sentence of life imprisonment, sparing the victims' families a harrowing trial. He told a detective that's the least I could do. After his sentence was passed, he left the crowd, blowing a kiss to the angry crowd outside the court. Catherine entered no plea. His barrister awaited her psychiatric report to determine her ability to stand trial. She returned a month later after being declared sane enough to stand trial. On the 3rd of March, Catherine admitted her involvement in the murders. As the court detailed their 35-day killing spree, the couple held hands, smiling and whispering to each other. Once in prison, the couple shared over 2,600 words. Writing was their only form of contact. At 54 years old, David was found dead in the cell at Cashford Prison. On 7th October 2005, prison officers discovered him hanging from an air vent. Catherine was not allowed to attend his funeral. He used a length of court days to commit suicide and struggle with depression, combined with his lack of medication care. Catherine, however, remains in prison. All applications for parole have been rejected, and she is unlikely to ever be released. The legacy of this profiling serial killer is unending. Kate Morris continues to campaign for for tougher restrictions on convicted parole applications. Peter Catherine's youngest son calls for her execution. Tanya, David's older brother, has never married and vows ever to have children. I don't want to spawn another David Birdie. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that we never miss a video. By the time you're seeing this, it will probably be around 11 p.m. EST time. Sorry about the late upload. Was very busy today. Had a long day at work. Had family come over, all that stuff. So I really wanted to get this out earlier. I'm sorry. But after I get done editing this, I'm gonna be uploading an Among Us video. I'm thinking about doing a stream on Saturday along with an upload. I ain't quite sure. I gotta figure out how my computer does with streaming and games and all that stuff. But yeah, I'll let you know. Saturday. I'll probably post it on my Discord and my Facebook page. So make sure to go check those out. The links are in the description down below. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Make sure to like and subscribe. I already said all that stuff. I love every one of y'all. And shout out to everyone who has watched every single video. If you made it this far, comment down below. And say thanks for the shout out. So I know you did. Have a good day. Peace out.